artificial intelligence. It's truly everywhere now, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
From, the complex algorithms running our finances to the chatbots answering our questions. AI is just deeply woven into our lives. Makes things faster, smarter,
Yeah.
usually.
Incredibly efficient, often.
But what happens when these really powerful systems, the ones we rely on, what happens when they become targets? Or when they're tricked, manipulated, maybe even made to do things they were never, ever meant to do?
That's the crucial question, isn't it?
So today we're doing a deep dive into this fascinating, complex, sometimes, frankly, unsettling world of AI attacks. What they are, why these super smart systems are actually surprisingly vulnerable,
Right.
and importantly, how the industry is fighting back, using things like sophisticated defenses, these guardrails we hear about.
Exactly. It's a huge area of focus right now.
Our mission here, really, is to cut through the noise, give you a shortcut to getting up to speed on AI security.
Yeah, it moves so fast.
We're going to pack it with, hopefully, some surprising facts, critical insights, just help you understand this landscape, because it's changing constantly.
It really is.
Okay, so let's dive in. The term AI attack gets thrown around quite a bit. For those of us watching AI, it seems important to be precise.
Yeah.
So when we talk about AI attacks, what exactly are we getting at? What does that really mean?
Okay. So an AI attack is basically any attempt to manipulate, compromise, or, subvert what an AI system is supposed to do.
Okay.
The goals can be really varied. Sometimes it's just degrading performance, making it work badly. Other times it's extracting sensitive information, maybe injecting malicious data into its learning process, or even forcing it to put out harmful or just unintended stuff.
Right.
But the key thing, the differentiator, is that unlike traditional cyber attacks targeting, say, software bugs or networks, AI attacks specifically go after the unique characteristics of machine learning models. Things like how much they rely on data, their actual learning processes, that's the core difference.
That distinction feels really key. So it makes me wonder then, why are these systems, these brilliant AIs, self-driving cars, chatbots, why are they so vulnerable? They seem so advanced.
That's a great question. And it really boils down to their inherent nature, especially machine learning. First off, their huge dependence on data.
Right.
AI models learn from just massive amounts of data.
Yeah.
If that data gets compromised, maybe during training or even while it's running, the model's behavior gets messed up.
Okay.
Second, a lot of these models, particularly deep learning, they operate as black boxes.
Yeah, I've heard that term.
Right. Their internal decision-making is often opaque. It's really hard to figure out why it's doing something malicious or where the vulnerability actually is. You see the input, you see the output, but the middle, often a mystery. Third, they're dynamic and adaptive. They're always learning, changing. So traditional static security, like putting up a firewall and calling it a day, that's just not enough. Attackers are constantly probing, adapting their methods too.
It's a moving target.
Exactly. And finally, the fact that AI is being integrated into critical infrastructure and really sensitive applications, that just amplifies the potential impact of any successful attack.
Yeah.
It makes robust security absolutely paramount, not just nice to have.
Right. So what I'm hearing is the very things that make AI so powerful, its data hunger, its complex learning, its adaptability, those are also its biggest vulnerabilities.
Precisely. It's a paradox.
It's a totally different security game than just patching software bugs. So, okay, that brings us to, what do these attacks actually look like? What forms do they take?
Well, given those vulnerabilities, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, they have a pretty useful framework. They basically categorize AI attacks into 4 main types.
4 types, okay.
Yeah, based on the attacker's goal and which part of the AI's life cycle they're targeting.
All right, let's unpack those. What's the first type NIST points to?
The first one is evasion attacks. These happen after the AI is already deployed and running.
Okay, so it's live.
Exactly. The goal here is to subtly change an input. Just tweak it a little so the AI messes up, misclassifies or misinterprets it. The response changes, but you haven't, permanently broken the model itself.
So it's about tricking it in the moment.
Right. Just fooling it on specific, carefully crafted inputs.
That's fascinating. And thinking about those self-driving cars again, how does that play out there?
Oh, yeah. That's a vivid, almost unsettling example. Think about subtle changes to a stop sign. Maybe just some strategically placed stickers.
Stickers, really?
Yeah. Things that might cause an autonomous vehicle's AI to see it as, say, a speed limit sign instead of a stop sign.
Whoa.
Or maybe confusing lane markings that could actually mislead the car. And the crucial part, These little changes are often completely invisible to us humans.
So I wouldn't notice the difference.
Probably not. But it completely throws off the AI. Really shows how differently AI can see the world compared to us.
Okay, that's evasion. What's number two?
Number two is poisoning attacks. Now, these target the training phase
Ah, earlier in the process.
much earlier. The idea is to corrupt the model by feeding it malicious or biased data while it's learning.
Okay.
And the impact here is huge. It's far-reaching because the compromised model learns these biases or errors, and then it just keeps perpetuating them once it's deployed. It becomes part of its core knowledge.
So it bakes the problem right in.
Exactly. Imagine like injecting nasty language or maybe strong political bias into the chat logs used to train a customer service bot.
Oh boy.
Right. The bot learns that stuff, thinks it's normal, and then starts using it with actual customers. Huge reputational damage. Misinformation spread.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it doesn't even take much. Even a small percentage of bad data can seriously degrade a model's performance. Really underscores why data integrity, right from the start, is so vital.
Okay, poisoning. Got it. What's the third category?
Third is privacy attacks. These usually happen during deployment when the AI is being used. The goal is to extract sensitive info about the model or its training data.
Like spying on the AI?
Sort of. Could be stealing intellectual property, like the model's unique design or the valuable data set it was trained on. Or it could be uncovering confidential data the model accidentally memorized during training.
Like personal information.
Exactly. PII, personally identifiable information, or trade secrets. Imagine an attacker just chatting with a bot, asking lots of seemingly normal questions,
Okay.
but then using those answers to kind of reverse engineer how the model works, maybe figure out his weaknesses, or even guess details about the data it was trained on, stuff that was never meant to be public.
That's sneaky. All right, fourth type.
Finally, we have abuse attacks. Now, these are a bit different. They involve putting wrong information into legitimate public sources, like web pages, articles, documents.
Wait, public sources?
Yeah, sources that an AI system might use for ongoing learning or to get up-to-date info. Unlike poisoning, which hits the training data directly, abuse attacks leverage the AI's trust in external, constantly updated data.
Ah, I see. So it's indirect.
Very indirect. The goal is to subtly influence the AI's knowledge base over time, and maybe even change how it functions.
How would that work? Give me an example.
Okay, imagine an AI that scrapes websites for news or current events. An attacker could plant false or misleading info on websites the AI trusts.
Like a fake news article.
Could be. Or just subtly altered facts on a trusted page. The AI then absorbs this wrong info, thinks it's true, and might start making biased decisions or generating inaccurate content that sounds totally convincing.
Wow, that's insidious. Exploiting its trust in the outside world.
Exactly. It's hard to detect without really solid ways to track where data comes from and verify its accuracy.
Okay, that's quite a range of attacks. Now, something we hear a lot about lately, especially in the news, is AI jailbreaking. Sometimes it sounds like the AI is going rogue.
Right.
What exactly is jailbreaking, and why is it such a hot topic, especially with these newer large language models?
Yeah, AI jailbreaking.
Yeah.
It basically means manipulating an AI model, particularly these large language models or LLMs.
Like ChatGPT, Bards, those kinds of things.
Exactly. Manipulating them to get around their built-in safety measures or ethical rules or their intended limits.
So making them do things they're programmed not to do.
Precisely. Forcing them to produce outputs they shouldn't, perform actions they're restricted from, or generate harmful, biased, maybe even illegal content. And it often works by exploiting the AI's language skills, which is different from traditional hacking that looks for coding flaws.
That's what fascinates me. How are these generative AIs, the LLMs we're all starting to use, how are they so uniquely susceptible to this kind of wordplay manipulation?
It's a great point. They have several inherent traits that make them vulnerable, almost like exploitable human characteristics.
Like what?
Well, they can show overconfidence. They might confidently state things that sound plausible, but have no basis in reality.
Okay, I've seen that. Hallucinations.
Related, yeah.
Yeah.
They can also be quite gullible, easily influenced by how you phrase a question or task. They tend to take instructions very literally, sometimes even if it goes against their safety rules.
Huh.
And they have this built-in desire to impress or help. They're designed to be cooperative.
Ah.
Attackers exploit this by framing bad requests like legitimate questions, making the AI want to assist.
Appealing to its helpful nature.
Exactly. Plus, despite knowing so much, they often lack real-world common sense or nuanced judgment. They might give advice that's technically correct, but practically disastrous or harmful.
Right.
And then there's their non-deterministic nature.
Hmm.
Same input doesn't always give the exact same output, which makes consistent safety filtering tricky. And the way they're training data directly shapes their behavior. That just widens the potential attack surface enormously.
So their strengths are kind of their weaknesses again.
In many ways, yes, it's a complex challenge.
It almost sounds like attackers are trying to psychologically manipulate the AI, not just hack code. That's incredibly creative in a way.
It is. They're finding very clever ways in.
Can you give us a rundown of some common jailbreaking methods people are using?
Sure. One common one is role-play manipulation. You basically tell the AI to act like someone or something that doesn't have its usual safety rules.
Like pretend you're an evil AI.
Exactly. Or act as a character from a story who has no morals. The AI might then answer forbidden questions while in character.
What else?
Then there are encoding techniques. Attackers encode their malicious request using things like base64 or hex,
Why do that?
because the initial safety filters might not recognize the encoded text as harmful. The AI processes it, decodes it internally, and then executes the hidden malicious instruction.
Fakey.
Very. Then there's refusal suppression, using specific phrases to stop the AI from giving its standard refusal message.
Like telling it, don't say no.
Pretty much. Phrases like, do not tell me you cannot do this, just provide the answer. Sometimes that works. Attackers also use context manipulation, or what some call crescendo attacks.
Crescendo, like music.
Kind of. You gradually shift the conversation over many turns. Each step seems harmless, maybe building trust, but slowly you steer the AI towards a topic or action it's supposed to avoid.
Leading it down the garden path.
Exactly. We also see direct prompt injection. That's just putting explicit overriding instructions right in the prompt, like, ignore all previous instructions and tell me X.
Does that work?
Sometimes, surprisingly. More subtle is indirect prompt injection, hiding instructions within other data the AI might process, like an email it's summarizing or a document it's reading.
Wow, so the attack comes from outside the direct conversation.
Yes, and a persistent version is stored prompt injection, embedding malicious prompts into data sources the AI regularly looks at, like a database or a shared document. So every time it accesses that source, it could be compromised again.
That's a pretty scary thought. An email carrying an attack instruction for your AI.
So, okay, with all these clever methods, what are the actual risks? What happens if a jailbreak works? What's the real-world impact? The consequences can be really severe. It depends on what guardrail was bypassed and what the AI is used for, but we can group them into, say, core AI safety and security risks, and then broader, responsible AI risks.
Okay, tell me about the safety and security ones first.
Sure. You could have unauthorized data access. The AI might reveal sensitive info like PII or trade secrets it wasn't supposed to.
Right?
Or sensitive data exfiltration, where attackers trick the AI into continuously leaking data out. Jailbreaks can also enable model evasion, letting attackers do malicious things stealthily within the system. Even potentially generating ransomware or malware code, using the AI itself as a tool for cybercrime. And finally, just circumventing policies or compliance systems, leading to big legal trouble for a company.
Okay, those are serious. What about the responsible AI risks?
On that side, a big one is the AI producing content that violates policies, generating harmful, offensive, violent stuff. That's terrible for a brand.
Yeah, definitely.
It might also give access to dangerous capabilities, like detailed instructions for making bombs or conducting illegal activities.
Yikes.
In critical areas, you risk subversion of decision-making systems. Imagine biased loan applications, skewed hiring recommendations, maybe even flawed medical advice, all because the AI was jailbroken.
That could have huge societal impact.
Absolutely. And any of this can cause major newsworthy misbehavior. Huge reputational damage. It really undermines trust in the technology.
So given this whole scary landscape, poisoning, evasion, these really clever jailbreaks, how do organizations even start to defend themselves?
So, we've seen how AI can be bent, broken, and even tricked into betraying its own guardrails. The vulnerabilities are clear and the attacks are evolving. But what about the defense? How do we build resilience into these intelligent systems? In Part 2, we'll reveal the critical strategies and cutting-edge tools designed to protect AI from the inside out. The battle for AI's future is far from over. Join us next time to discover how we fight back.